The planet Solara 3 sat peacefully in the far reaches of the galaxy, a bright blue world surrounded by swirling clouds and deep oceans. From space, it looked like any other human colony, a small outpost of civilization. The humans who lived here were descendants of a group of pioneers sent from Earth centuries ago to explore and settle the stars. They had built their homes, farms, and factories hidden away from the busy corridors of galactic politics. The colony was self-sufficient, isolated, and to the outside world almost forgotten. But everything changed one quiet morning. The Catharn had been watching the planet for weeks, their advanced ships cloaked in the void of space, far beyond the reach of Solara III's sensors. The Catharn were an ancient alien race, known for their intelligence, military might, and an obsession with controlling the galaxy. They were a curious species, always eager to uncover the secrets of the universe. They had mapped countless planets and civilizations, but something about this small, seemingly insignificant world intrigued them. There were whispers among their scientists that the humans here were different, special in ways no one could quite explain. Their first visit was swift and subtle. Using their highly advanced scanning technology, the Catharn gathered information from orbit, their sensors sifting through the atmosphere, the terrain, and the signals emitted by the colony. Everything seemed normal at first. The human colony was peaceful, with no signs of military activity or any immediate threat to their power. However, as their scans reached deeper into the planet's core, they detected something strange, something unexpected. Beneath the surface of the planet, far below the human settlements, there was a network of vast structures, buried deep within the planet's crust. These structures emitted an energy signature unlike anything the Catharn had encountered before. The signals were faint but consistent, as if someone had been hiding them for a very long time. The Catharn were intrigued. The colony had been quiet, without contact from any of the major galactic powers, and yet here was evidence of something far more advanced than they had anticipated. It was not just a colony of settlers, it was a colony with a secret. The Catharn leader Zirak was the first to realize the implications of this discovery. He knew that the humans could be hiding a technology that could shift the balance of power in the galaxy. If they were as advanced as the signal suggested, the Catharn would need to investigate further. Zirak ordered his fleet to descend to the planet's surface. A small group of Catharn scientists and soldiers landed in a remote area of the colony, hidden from the prying eyes of the settlers. The humans had no idea that the aliens were even on their world. They went about their daily lives, working, farming, and trading, unaware that their quiet existence was about to be disrupted. The Catharn set up a base of operations in a dense forest near the edge of the colony. From here, they could observe the humans and gather more data on the planet's strange energy readings. Zirak's team used their advanced technology to blend in with the environment, carefully avoiding detection. They watched as humans went about their business, but the real focus was always on the underground structures. Zirak knew that the answers lay below. After days of careful observation, the Catharn began to make their move. They found the entrance to one of the underground facilities. It was hidden beneath a thick layer of rock and metal, barely noticeable to the untrained eye. The Catharn were experts at infiltrating and accessing hidden locations, and soon they were inside. What they found shocked them. The underground facility was not just a storage depot or an old mining complex. It was a place of great importance, a hidden laboratory, abandoned but still functional. The Catharn moved through the corridors cautiously, the hum of ancient machines filling the air. The walls were lined with strange symbols, alien to their understanding. But the technology inside was unmistakable. This was no ordinary human facility. The Catharn scientists carefully examined the equipment. They found ancient data records, long-forgotten blueprints, and strange devices that seemed to defy conventional understanding. Some of these devices were powered by energy sources that even the Catharn hadn't mastered. It was clear that whoever built this facility had access to technology far beyond anything known to the galaxy. At the center of the facility, in a large circular chamber, was a mysterious device. It was enormous, made of metal and glowing crystals, and it pulsed with a strange energy. The Catharn had never seen anything like it. Their scanners revealed that it was a complex machine, capable of manipulating energy on a scale they had never imagined. Shirak stood before it, his eyes narrowing with understanding. This was no ordinary machine. It was a weapon, a tool of immense power. But it was not just a weapon, it was something more, something the humans had created but seemed to have forgotten. As the Catharn scientists dug deeper, they uncovered the facility's true purpose. The colony, it seemed, was not merely a settlement. It was part of a larger hidden experiment, a secret project initiated by a faction of humans back on Earth. The goal was to create a race of superhumans capable of unlocking and controlling such powerful technology. The humans living on Solara 3 were the descendants of this project, genetically enhanced individuals who had been born with extraordinary abilities that they had never fully understood because they had been hidden from them by those who created the experiment. Shirak's mind raced. The discovery was even more significant than he had imagined. The humans of Solara 3 were not just survivors, they were the product of a powerful forgotten project, and this technology, this machine, could be the key to unlocking a new era of galactic power. But the Catharn had to move quickly. The humans were still unaware of the potential danger they faced. Shirak knew that if the humans unlocked this power before the Catharn could seize it, the galaxy would be changed forever. The Catharn were already preparing to make their move. They would take control of the facility and its technology before the humans could realize what they had discovered. As the Catharn made their plans, they had no idea that the humans were already beginning to sense that something was wrong. They had noticed the unusual activity near the forest and the strange energy readings coming from deep within the planet. They had no idea that their world was on the verge of a massive, unstoppable change. In the distance, a figure watched from the shadows. Captain Alia Drayton, once a military leader, now a civilian leader of the colony, felt a strange sense of unease. She had always known that there was something different about Solara III, but she had never imagined the truth was this extraordinary. She sensed that the colony's peaceful life was about to be shattered. The Catharn were here, and they had uncovered a secret that could change everything. The question now was, what would the humans do with the power they were about to unleash? The sun was setting over Solara 3, casting long shadows across the sprawling fields and forests that covered the colony. The people of Solara 3 lived simple lives, focused on farming, trade, and raising their families. They knew little of the galaxy beyond their borders, and that was how they liked it. They had everything they needed here, on this quiet world, far from the politics and dangers of the larger galactic empire. But that was about to change. Deep beneath the surface, in the hidden facility that the Catharn had discovered, the aliens continued their exploration. The more they uncovered, the more they realized that they had stumbled upon something far greater than they had anticipated. Shirak, the leader of the Catharn expedition, stood in the center of the underground chamber, his eyes scanning the ancient machinery before him. The device in the middle of the room pulsed with a soft, otherworldly glow, its energy readings beyond anything the Catharn had ever encountered. It wasn't just a machine, it was a gateway to a power the likes of which the galaxy had never seen. "Shirak," a voice called from behind him. One of his scientists, a Catharn named Vrex, stepped forward, holding up a data pad. "You need to see this." Shirak turned to look at the device. It was clear now that the humans on Solara 3 had not built this place by accident. The facility was a result of careful design, not something created by a group of settlers trying to survive on a distant world. The humans had been involved in something much larger, something far more significant. Vrex handed him the data pad, and Zirak's sharp eyes scanned the information. The data was sparse, but it was enough. The facility's purpose was slowly becoming clear. "The humans," Zirak murmured, his voice low. "They were experimenting on themselves." Vrex nodded. "It seems that way. The records indicate that this was a secret project initiated by a faction of humans back on Earth. They were attempting to create a race of superhumans. These humans here, on Solara Thrur, are the descendants of that experiment." Zirak's mind raced. He had suspected that the humans were different, but he hadn't expected this. The colony wasn't just a peaceful outpost. It was the home of a new breed of human beings, genetically altered to be stronger, smarter, and more capable than anything the galaxy had seen before. The Catharn had long prided themselves on their intelligence and their strength. But now they were faced with the possibility that this small, isolated colony of humans could rival them in ways they hadn't imagined. As Zirak delved deeper into the records, he uncovered something even more unsettling. The AI at the heart of the facility, the one that powered the strange device, was not just a tool. It was sentient. The Catharn had assumed it was simply a machine, but it was much more than that. It was a highly advanced intelligence, capable of controlling energy and matter on an unimaginable scale. Zirak's heart raced. If the humans could learn to control this power, they could become a force the Catharn could not ignore. But there was one thing they still didn't know: the full extent of the humans' abilities. The AI had been dormant for generations, but now, as the Catharn uncovered more of the facility's secrets, it was beginning to stir. "Can we awaken it?" Zirak asked, looking over at Vrex. Vrex hesitated. "We could try, but the humans have already begun to unlock its power. If they do, it may be too late to stop them." Zirak's thoughts turned to the surface. The colony may have been peaceful and unaware of what lay beneath, but that was about to change. The Catharn had to act quickly before the humans realized the potential of the power they were sitting on. Meanwhile, far above, Captain Alia Drayton stood on the balcony of her quarters, looking out over the colony. The sun was dipping below, the horizon casting a warm golden light across the fields. It had been a long day, and she had just finished her usual patrol, making sure everything was in order. Life on Solara Thur had always been quiet, but Alia had always felt that there was something more to this world than met the eye. Something hidden. Alia was no stranger to the mysteries of their world. She had grown up here, alongside the descendants of the original colonists, and had been trained in the ways of leadership and military tactics. She had always been one of the most intelligent and capable individuals in the colony. But even she had no idea how deep the mystery of Solara Thur ran. As captain of the colony's defense force, Alia had a duty to protect the people of Solara Thur. But what exactly was she protecting them from? She had heard rumors of strange energy, readings, unusual activity near the outer rim of the colony, and whispers of something underground. It had been enough to make her uneasy, but she had kept those feelings to herself. Now, as she looked out over the horizon, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was coming, something that could change everything. Her thoughts were interrupted by a soft chime. It was a message from her second-in-command, Lieutenant Saren. "Captain," the message began, "we've detected some unusual energy readings near the outskirts of the colony. We're sending a team to investigate." Alia's heart skipped a beat. This was it. This was the moment she had been waiting for, the moment when everything she had suspected was about to be revealed. "I'll meet you there," she replied, her voice steady. She turned and grabbed her jacket, her mind racing with questions. What was out there? What had the Catharn discovered? And what would happen when the truth came to light? Meanwhile, deep beneath the surface, the Catharn were moving fast. They had access to the colony's records now, and they had begun to understand the full scope of what the humans had hidden. But they were not the only ones aware of the power in these hidden depths. In the heart of the underground facility, the AI had begun to awaken. Slowly, its sensors flickered to life. It had been dormant for centuries, but now, as the Catharn began to interfere with its systems, the AI sensed a disturbance. It was not just a machine, it was something far greater, a guardian of the past, and perhaps the key to the future. As the AI systems activated, it began to process the data around it, preparing for the moment when it would be needed. The humans would soon realize that they were no longer alone in the galaxy, and they would have to decide what to do with the power that had been hidden from them for so long. The wind was harsh on the surface of Solara 3, its cold gusts sweeping across the vast plains and dense forests, leaving the colony beneath a cloak of quiet mystery. The Catharn had uncovered something that would forever change the future of the galaxy, but they were not the only ones aware of the shift in the air. The people of Solara 3 were beginning to sense that something wasn't right, though they had no idea how deep the danger ran. Captain Alia Drayton stood at the entrance of the colony's command center, watching her team of officers prepare for the mission ahead. Her mind was racing with thoughts of what she had just learned: an old underground facility, strange energy signatures, and the presence of unknown alien life forms on their world. The discoveries over the last few days had left her on edge. She had never been one to shy away from challenges, but this was something beyond her understanding. What did these aliens want? And why had they come to Solara 3? As the team boarded the transport shuttle, Alia's thoughts turned inward. She had always known there was something unusual about their colony. The settlers had arrived here centuries ago, but the more she dug into the history of the colony, the more questions she had. The records were vague, hidden under layers of old security, and she had been unable to uncover anything substantial about the founding of the colony. The strange energy readings only added to her growing unease. She and her team set off in the transport, heading for the coordinates of the strange facility the Catharn had found. The journey to the location took them through the dense forests, where only the faintest light penetrated the thick canopy above. As they approached the coordinates, Alia felt the weight of the situation press down on her shoulders. There was a strange silence in the air, a sense that they were about to step into something unknown. The shuttle landed softly on the ground, and the team disembarked. The forest was eerily quiet, the only sounds being the distant rustle of wind through the leaves and the crunch of footsteps on the dry ground. Alia led her team through the trees, her mind focused on the task at hand. They had to uncover the truth, whatever it was, and ensure the safety of their people. After a few hours of walking, they finally reached the entrance to the underground facility. It was hidden beneath a large, craggy hill, nearly indistinguishable from the surrounding terrain. The entrance was sealed, covered by a thick layer of rock, but Alia could feel the faintest hum of energy coming from below. This was it. The heart of the mystery was waiting just beneath their feet. "Prepare the equipment," Alia ordered. "We'll need to break through." Her team quickly got to work, using specialized tools to crack open the entrance. As the seal broke and the door began to lift, a cloud of dust billowed into the air. The sight that greeted them was nothing short of astonishing. Inside was a massive underground complex, its walls lined with strange metal structures and glowing crystals that seemed to pulse with energy. "This is incredible," one of her officers, Sergeant Kellis, muttered in awe. "I've never seen anything like this before." Alia nodded but kept her focus. She could feel the weight of something ancient, something powerful in the air. The Catharn had already been inside, but there was something about this place that made her cautious. The facility was old, far older than anything they had ever encountered on Solara 3. It wasn't just a storage facility or a base. It was something more. They ventured deeper into the complex, their footsteps echoing in the silent halls. The walls were adorned with strange symbols and images, none of which they could understand. Some of the symbols were familiar, a mix of human and alien designs that seemed to blur the lines between the two races. But the overall feeling was one of secrecy, as if whoever had built this place had tried to keep it hidden from the world for a reason. The deeper they went, the more they began to uncover. There were remnants of old equipment, broken machines that seemed to have once held immense power. In one chamber, they found a series of large containers filled with strange, glowing substances. The Catharn had likely been studying these materials, trying to understand their origins and capabilities. But it was in the central chamber that they made their most startling discovery. At the heart of the facility, beneath a vast dome of glass and metal, was the source of the energy readings, the AI. It was massive, suspended in the center of the room by a network of cables and crystalline structures. It was clear that this was no ordinary computer system. The AI was a living, breathing entity, its core pulsing with energy as it processed data from across the galaxy. Alia could feel its presence, even though it was not speaking. It was as if the AI itself was aware of their arrival, aware of them as intruders. "This is it," Alia whispered, her eyes wide with disbelief. "This is what they were hiding." Her officers were equally stunned. The AI was like nothing they had ever seen before. It was not just a machine, it was an entity, a sentient being capable of manipulating energy and matter. It had been dormant for centuries, waiting for someone to unlock its secrets. The humans who had originally created this facility had designed it to be a weapon, but it had not been activated. Until now. Suddenly, the silence was broken by a soft hum. The AI's core flickered, and for a moment, the entire facility seemed to come to life. Lights flashed on and off, and the room began to hum with energy. It was as if the AI was awakening, stretching its consciousness after centuries of slumber. Alia's heart raced. This was the moment of truth. They had uncovered the secret of Solara 3. But what would they do with this power? The AI could reshape the galaxy, but could they control it? Could they understand it? Before Alia could give any orders, the sound of footsteps echoed in the hall. She spun around, her hand instinctively reaching for the weapon at her side. But it wasn't an enemy. It was a figure in a long cloak, walking slowly toward them. It was a Catharn. Zirak stepped forward, his eyes glowing with an otherworldly intensity. He raised his hand in a gesture of peace. But Alia was not fooled. The aliens had been watching them, studying them, and now they had come for the AI. She could see it in their eyes. They wanted control of this power. "We've been waiting for you, Captain," Zirak said, his voice calm but laced with authority. "We are the Catharn, and we've come to take what is ours." Alia's hand tightened on her weapon, but she stood her ground. This wasn't just about protecting Solara III anymore. It was about deciding who would control the future of the galaxy. "We won't let you take it," she said firmly. Zirak's eyes narrowed. "You don't understand, Captain. You can't control it. But we can. The AI will reshape the galaxy, and it will be ours to command." Alia knew that the Catharn were not to be trusted, but she also knew that they were not the only ones who had a claim on this power. She could feel the AI's presence, its consciousness stirring. The battle for control was only just beginning. The quiet of Solara III had been shattered. The colony, once a peaceful and self-sufficient world, was now caught in a storm of discovery and conflict. Alia Drayton stood at the edge of the central square, gazing out over the colony she had sworn to protect. The news of the Catharn's arrival and the strange facility beneath their feet had spread quickly. People were talking, their whispers filled with fear and uncertainty. What did the aliens want? Why had they come? And most importantly, what was the AI buried beneath their world capable of? Alia had no answers yet, but she knew one thing for certain. The Catharn could not be trusted. They had come for the AI, the power it held, and they would do whatever it took to control it. The humans of Solara 3 were no longer just innocent settlers. They were the key to a galaxy-changing secret, and Alia would not let them fall under the Catharn's rule. She turned toward her officers, who were gathered in a circle, discussing their next move. The Catharn were watching them from the shadows, but Alia knew it was only a matter of time before they would make their move, pushing to seize the AI. The question was, could they stop them? "I've spoken to the council," Lieutenant Saren said, his face grim. "They want us to reach out to the Catharn, try to negotiate. They think we can make peace." Alia shook her head. "Peace? We're talking about a race of aliens who have already made it clear they want control of our future. We can't trust them, Saren." Saren's gaze softened, but he didn't argue. "I know, but we can't just start a war with them. Not unless we're sure we can win." Alia's eyes hardened. "We're not starting a war. But if the Catharn push us, we'll fight, and we'll make sure they know that Solara 3 belongs to us." Her words hung in the air, and for a moment, no one spoke. But then one of the officers, Sergeant Kellis, spoke up. "Alia's right. We don't have a choice. The Catharn want the AI, but we don't even fully understand it yet. What if it's more dangerous than we know?" Alia nodded, her mind already racing with possibilities. The AI was more than just a machine. It was a sentient being, a force capable of shaping the galaxy. It was beyond anything the humans had ever known, and yet they were the ones who had unknowingly created it. She had no idea how they were going to control it, but one thing was clear. If they didn't, someone else would. "I'll start organizing our forces," Alia said. "We need to prepare for the worst. I want every able-bodied person ready to defend this colony. We'll use the land to our advantage, hide in the forests, the mountains. If the Catharn think they can take us without a fight, they're wrong." The officers nodded and set off to carry out their orders. But Alia stayed. Behind, looking out across the colony, her thoughts heavy with the burden of what was to come. She couldn't help but wonder how the Catharn had found out about the AI. Was it truly a coincidence? Had they been watching them for longer than they realized? She suspected that the aliens had known about the AI for some time. They had likely been studying it from afar, waiting for the right moment to strike. But now, the humans had something the Catharn didn't: knowledge of the AI's power. Alia had no idea how to use it, but she knew they couldn't allow the aliens to control it. They had to act fast. As the hours passed, the mood in the colony shifted. Word of the impending danger spread like wildfire, and soon the people began to rally behind Alia. They might have been a small, isolated colony, but they were strong, resourceful, and fiercely protective of their home. They were not going to let a powerful alien race come in and take what was theirs. Alia walked through the streets, meeting with the colony's leaders, gathering support. She spoke to the engineers, the farmers, the civilians who had never before picked up a weapon. She told them of the danger that lurked beneath their feet, of the power the Catharn sought. And she reminded them of the one thing that had kept them alive on Solara 3 for so long: their unity. They would not stand by and let their world be taken. The people of Solara 3 would fight to the end, even if it meant facing an enemy far stronger than they could ever imagine. Meanwhile, deep within the underground facility, the Catharn were making their own preparations. Zirak, the leader of the Catharn expedition, stood in front of a large, glowing console, his eyes narrowed in thought. The humans were proving to be more resilient than he had expected. They had already started organizing their resistance, rallying behind their leader, Alia Drayton. Zirak knew that they couldn't waste any more time. The AI was growing more active, its power beginning to surge as the humans made their move. He had to act quickly before they unlocked its full potential. "We've waited long enough," Zirak said, turning to his commanders. "Prepare the forces. We move at dawn." The Catharn were not used to waiting, and they would not tolerate the humans standing in their way. Zirak knew that they had the advantage in firepower, technology, and strength. The humans had no chance of defeating them in an open conflict, but if the AI became their ally, everything would change. They would make sure the humans understood the consequences of defying them. Back on the surface, Alia was preparing for the coming conflict. The colony's defenses were set, and her people were ready. But even as they fortified their positions, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were facing something far bigger than the Catharn. The AI was more than just a weapon. It was a force of nature. And she had no idea what would happen once it was unleashed. The night before the battle, Alia stood alone outside, looking up at the stars. She thought of the peaceful world they had once known, the quiet life they had built. It seemed like a lifetime ago. But now, there was no turning back. The Catharn were coming, and the fate of the colony and the galaxy rested on their ability to protect the AI. She knew the fight ahead would be difficult, but she also knew that Solara III had something the Catharn didn't: the will to survive. The morning of the battle arrived on Solara III. The sky was a pale gray, clouds rolling in from the horizon, blocking out the sun. The air was thick with tension. The quiet world that had once known only peace was now a battleground, and every corner of the colony was prepared for war. Alia Drayton stood on the balcony of her command center, looking out over the colony. She had always known this day would come, the day when they would have to fight for their survival. But she never imagined it would be against an alien force as powerful as the Catharn. Yet here they were, ready to defend everything they had built: the colony, the people, the secret hidden beneath their feet. Her mind raced, but she pushed the thoughts aside. There was no time for doubt. The Catharn were coming. The AI, hidden deep below the surface, was more than just a machine. It was a force of unimaginable power, and both sides wanted it. The humans couldn't let the Catharn take control of it, not without a fight. "Alia," Lieutenant Saren's voice interrupted her thoughts. "We're ready. The people are in position. We've got eyes on the Catharn advancing on the outskirts." Alia nodded, turning to face him. "Good. We hold the line. We cannot let them reach the AI. If they do, it's over." Saren met her gaze. "And if we fail?" Alia's expression hardened. "We won't." The silence that followed was heavy with the weight of the decision they had made. This was no longer just a fight for survival. It was a fight for the future of their people. The Catharn had underestimated the humans, thinking they were nothing more than simple settlers. But now, they were about to learn just how wrong they were. The Catharn had been preparing for this moment as well. Zirak, their leader, stood at the front of his army, his eyes fixed on the colony in the distance. His forces were vast, their technology advanced, and they had no intention of retreating. They would take the AI by force if necessary. "Prepare for the assault," Zirak commanded, his voice cold. "This will not be a long battle. We'll sweep through them and secure the AI. No mercy." The Catharn soldiers, clad in their dark armor, began to march forward. Their weapons were ready, their ships hovered above, providing them with superior firepower. Zirak knew that once they had control of the AI, nothing would stand in their way. They would reshape the galaxy as they saw fit. The humans had no idea what they were up against. But Zirak didn't know what the humans had been preparing in secret. Alia had led her people to prepare not just their defenses, but their minds. The AI, once dormant, had begun to respond to the humans' presence. They had started to awaken its power, though they still didn't fully understand how to control it. But they had learned enough. They had learned that the AI wasn't just a machine, it was a living force, a consciousness capable of responding to their intentions. Alia had made a decision. If the Catharn wanted the AI, they would have to face the full might of the human will, and they would learn that the humans were not just survivors, they were protectors. The first attack came at dawn. The Catharn forces descended upon the outskirts of the colony, their weapons blazing. The humans had prepared for this moment, using the terrain to their advantage. The forests, the mountains, the valleys. They knew their land like no one else. The Catharn were strong, but they didn't know the land. And that was where the humans had the advantage. Alia and her team were among the first to engage. They took their positions, hiding among the trees, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The Catharn soldiers marched forward, unaware of the human presence just beyond the tree line. As the first Catharn soldier stepped into their line of fire, Alia gave the signal. "Now!" she shouted. A barrage of energy blasts erupted from the shadows, hitting the Catharn soldiers with precision. The Catharn were caught off guard, their shields flickering as they tried to return fire. But the humans had the upper hand. They moved quickly, using their knowledge of the terrain to strike from unexpected angles. It was a guerrilla warfare tactic, one that the Catharn were not prepared for. Shirak, watching from behind his forces, snarled, "Send in the reinforcements! Break them!" But the Catharn were struggling to adapt to the ambush. The humans were more organized than they had anticipated. And as the battle raged on, something unexpected happened. The AI, deep below the surface, began to stir. It had been activated. Slowly, the ground trembled as the AI's energy began to pulse outward, like a wave of power radiating from its core. The humans had awakened it, and it was responding. The Catharn had no idea what was coming. The ground beneath their feet cracked, open, and from the depths of the planet, a massive beam of energy shot into the sky. The humans had unlocked the AI's power, just enough to send a clear message to the Catharn. This was not a battle they could win. Not without understanding the force they were facing. Shirak's eyes widened as he saw the beam of energy rise into the sky. The AI was active. It was responding to the humans, and they were using it as a weapon. This wasn't just an ancient machine, it was a living, breathing entity. And now it was fighting back. "We need to retreat," Shirak said, his voice filled with urgency. "The AI is too powerful. If we continue, we risk provoking it beyond repair." But it was too late. The humans had already begun to use the AI's power to their advantage. The Catharn soldiers, who had once been the most feared in the galaxy, were now struggling against an enemy they couldn't understand. Back at the heart of the colony, Alia stood in front of the AI's central console, her hands shaking. She had never imagined that she would be standing here, controlling the very force that could change the galaxy. The AI had responded to her will, and now it was an extension of her own mind. "Is this what you wanted?" she whispered, her voice filled with awe. "Are we ready for this?" For a moment, the AI seemed to respond, its energy pulse fading, then increasing again. It was as if it understood her, understood what she was asking. And in that moment, Alia knew that the humans had control. They were no longer just settlers. They were something far more powerful. They were the future. The battle continued, the humans pushing the Catharn back, using the AI's power and their own strength to fight. The Catharn had underestimated them, thinking they could take the colony with ease. But they were wrong. The humans had not only the will to survive, but the power to fight back. As the Catharn began to retreat, Alia stood tall, looking out over the battlefield. The humans had won, but the war wasn't over. The galaxy would now know what Solara III was capable of, and the humans would not be forgotten. A new era was dawning, A new power was rising, and the Catharn, like so many others before them, had learned that underestimating humanity was a dangerous mistake.